Hi babies, welcome back to Monday's episode where we are going to be talking about the most common mistakes when giving oral. So in this video, I'm going to help you not make those mistakes by addressing them. Now, I always tell you guys how to give oral the right way or an idea of what might feel good for your partner. Now, there might be some things that you're thinking are the GOAT or gold that might actually just be a complete flop. So I wanted to make sure I covered everything for when you're pleasing a penis owner to when you're pleasing a vulva owner, those things that we just absolutely don't like, and for the majority of us, don't feel good. So if any of those things interest you at all, make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started with addressing those mistakes so that you don't make them in the bedroom anymore. I wanted to break down the most common mistakes when you're pleasing a vulva owner and then the common mistakes that you might do when pleasing a penis. So first things first, I brought our trusty old vulva in here to help us get a better understanding of what not to do. So the first mistake is going to be trying to penetrate their urethra with your tongue. That's like a no-go. Ouchie ouch, it's sharp, it's uncomfortable, and it doesn't feel great to be stimulated. So the only thing you really should be trying to penetrate with your tongue is the vagina. And even then, you're most likely gonna be focusing on licking around and in between the labia majora and labia minora and stimulating that top piece of the clitoris. That little tiny hole that's right there, that's the urethra. That's where you don't want to be stimulating. So make sure you take a good hard look at the vulva you're pleasing and no, you don't want to hit that spot, and you definitely can't penetrate that either. The next mistake is way more common than I would like to admit, and unfortunately I can say almost 85% of the guys that I've been with have done this exact thing. And it's shaking their head left and right super quickly, thinking that they're stimulating the clitoris. However, what you're actually doing is rubbing your facial hair side to side. So those little tiny hairs that are coming through that are razor sharp, we feel that on all 8,000 nerve endings, and that does not feel good. And if you have a beard, it doesn't matter how much beard oil you put on, that is still not a pleasant feeling. If you're wanting to do more of that motion, do it when they still have their panties on. But definitely not the vibe, not the move for when they're off and you're skin on skin. The next mistake is coming out of the gates guns a-blazing. Super speed. Everything isn't warmed up yet. You have to start off soft and gentle and then gradually increase. When you come in hard with those super fast tongue flicks, that can be extremely uncomfortable and painful, especially even more so if your partner's clit is even more sensitive than the average. So take a step back and just ease into it. Seduce the vulva. And when we're seducing, we're usually soft and gentle. Another common mistake is not using your hands and your fingers at the right time. Make sure the clitoris is engorged. Make sure she's dripping before you even think about putting anything inside of them. And when you slowly start to insert your first finger, that come hither motion that you're doing is super, super, super soft. It's not a digging motion. It more comes from the rocking of the back and forth, putting pressure on and taking that pressure off. Very, very, very soft and gentle. The pressure that you have in your head right now, minus that by like 10. There's always room to increase. However, if you come in way too strong, you run the risk of desensitizing the clitoris and the G-spot. The next one is also really important. If they start pushing your head away, that means pull back and stop. Keep in mind, you don't just have to eat them out and munch their box. Come up, tease the neck a little bit, make out with them, stimulate their nipples, grab the booty. But if they're pushing your head back, that means it's uncomfortable and something is too sensitive or not feeling good. And I feel like most of the penis owners watching this already know what it feels like to have something hyper stimulated and it really hurting, like when you bust and they keep going. That doesn't feel good. The hypersensitivity is something that we want to be avoid because it doesn't always feel good for everybody. It can actually be incredibly painful for some. Now to switch it up, we're gonna talk about stimulating the penis. The first most common mistake is teeth. The penis is ultra sensitive and teeth do not feel good on the clit. So why would they feel good on the dick? Now, if your partner likes teeth, most likely they're gonna tell you and let you know to do a little nibble, but it's never gonna be anything aggressive where you're dragging your teeth up and down the shaft of the penis or anywhere near the head. The second most common mistake is just going up and down. as fast as possible. Boy, would that be ever so easy if that was the way that we could please a penis. However, penises are much more complicated than that. Just because they have a dick and they come a lot easier, that they don't have the ability to receive complex stimulation. Use your hands, use your tongue, do a twisting motion, a massage. But definitely don't just be hammering up and down. That's not the vibe. The next mistake that you might be making is just because it's oral does not mean that you can't use your hand or your hands. If you want to take your blowjob to the next level, you use your hands. Play with the fingers, play with the pressure that you're giving. Do a double hand, do a single hand. As your mouth comes down, you're also pulling that skin down. As you're coming up, you're bringing that skin up. Play with twisting motions, you know, just mix it up. But you definitely don't want to just be using your mouth. We like sensations. Now, with all of those being said and catered to more specific vulva and more specific penis, there are a few common mistakes that we make on each other. So let's talk about that. The first thing I want to talk about is tempo. The only time you don't change tempo is when your partner tells you, do not change. Meaning, don't stop. Don't stop, I'm right here, I'm close. That's when you don't change the tempo. Other than that, the 10 to 15 second rule is usually golden for switching up what you're doing so they don't become desensitized to the stimulation that you are giving them, even if it feels great. The next one is going to be mute, meaning you're not saying anything. You're not showing that you're enthused to be there. You're not showing that you're here, present in the moment, and you enjoy what you are doing to them. Have a little bit of dirty talk. Ask them, do you like it when I do that? You like it when I play with your balls, baby? Like things like that. And switch on your seduction voice. Men, I know you have one. Women, I know you have one. Spice it up. Talk to me. Moan. Get comfortable with your expression when you're receiving pleasure, because that's the stuff that turns us on, is the giver. The next one is something simple but often forgotten about. Hydrate, lots of fluids, and use lube, because the penis is not self-lubricating and saliva dries really fast. And for vulva owners, the outside is not self-lubricating, it's the vagina that's self-lubricating. And sometimes we have different health complications that don't allow it to get wet. So lube is an ultimate game changer. If you haven't found a lube to do oral with, freaking get one. I personally am not a big fan of flavor-based lubes. However, if you want something that tastes like a chocolate mint mojito or maybe some vanilla cupcake flavored thing, there's literally so many different flavors that are specifically meant for oral. So you can do that if that's what you're into. Me personally, I like a flavorless silicone-based lube. The reason why I say silicone is because it's flavorless, actually flavorless, and the glide is everlasting. It almost feels like a silk layer has been laid over top of your skin. So that's going to amplify your head game to the next level, because things will just run smoothly. The next one is don't worry about how you look. When you worry about how you look, it pulls you out of pleasure, and we get pleasure from giving to our partners. And our partner is definitely gonna be in some state of euphoria. So they're not worried about the goo-goo eyes that you're making, the spit that's dripping down your mouth, or you gagging and choking on something. That's some hot shit. Get nasty with it. Hell, I've come up with lipstick smeared right across my face, drool dripping down, and a bunch of other fluids on me. And honestly, I think that is super, super sexy, because it shows that you don't give a F what anybody thinks, and you are here to make them experience their maximum amount of pleasure. And finally, the last one is not paying attention to your partner's body language. If they're holding their breath, encourage them to breathe and also switch up your technique. If they're slowly scooching away from you, you're doing something wrong. If they're pulling your head in, they're really enjoying it. Paying attention to those little cues. Maybe you hear their toes crack because they're curling them. Maybe they're gripping the sheets. All of that is going to tell you whether you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong. Or maybe you come up and you say, what do you want me to do to you? So that you can get feedback on what they want to receive. Because let us not forget, we're giving our partner pleasure. We don't know necessarily what they want to feel. Even if you've been with them for years, we have an idea, but who knows? Maybe they want to try something new, or maybe that spot that you normally stimulate has just become uber sensitive. All right, guys, so those are the top oral mistake that most of us will make at some point in our brain game. Be patient, be soft with yourself, practice makes perfect, and ask for feedback always. Constant communication is in fact that lubrication. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Cheers, babies.